Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurubhe Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Asmad Gurubhyo Namaha श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम श्री मेधा दक्षिणामूर्ति स्वामिने नमः। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरिः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम। नमस्ते once again.
Namaskaram.
Namaskaram.
Namaste. Pranam Guruji.
Pranam. तद्वैराग्यं जिहासाया दर्शनश्रवणादिभिः देहादिब्रह्मपर्यन्तं ह्यनित्ये भोगवस्तुनि. We are seeing the 11th shloka of our selected verses, 108 verses. And we are seeing the topic of Vairagya, which is the second most important qualification required for a mumukshu, a seeker of moksha, seeker of liberation or freedom. So here Acharya is defining Vairagya as a mental disposition characterized by the absence of longing in all time-bound objects of enjoyment from this body, starting from this body up to Brahmaji's body, up to Brahmaji in fact, and which is attained through seeing, hearing, etc. That means through our sense organs. So in the earlier sloka, Acharya, while discussing what is Nityam and what is Anityam in the universe, said that Dehadi Brahma Paryantam, from our own physical body to the body of Brahmaji, the creator, and which serve as his instrument to fulfill his duty of creation, everything is Anityam only. And this we have to extend to all other objects experienced by the body. Body means I'm saying the sense objects. All of them are also Anityam. And we were seeing that all of them are divided into two types. Some of them, they are relevant to our life. They are part of our life. We have got an emotional bonding with those things and beings, either in the form of raga or dvesha. So one type of Anityam Jagat is where we have an emotional bonding. And there is another part of Jagat where I don't have any relevance or emotional bonding through raga and dvesha, like likes, dislikes, etc. I am neutral to those things. I am indifferent to them. Thus, we have got two types of universes. That which is capable of disturbing or influencing our life positively or negatively, And the second type of universe is which will not influence or impact us in any way. Or even if they do, that will be very minimal impact. And in the Shastra, there are two specific names for these two types. That which doesn't influence me, that about which I don't bother, is called a padartha. Padasya artha padartha. It is an object which has got a name, a nameable object. So padartha means any object in the universe with regard to which I am indifferent. This object to be a person also, but I am indifferent. Whether they are there or not, I don't care. What you can call it, Swami Paramathananda calls it, I don't care world. I don't care world. Then the second one is those things and beings which I relate to, which I regularly watch. And this we have seen also, in the newspaper, the moment we read any news which falls within that range of Raga Dvesha, if we see a heading which is connected to me, then what I will do? I will sit up in the chair and then bring the newspaper closer. Read what exactly is written, what are the details. For example, we read that there is an earthquake in the US. I'm just giving an example, or Russia, or Japan, any place. Normally, we will say, oh, there is an earthquake, so many people are trapped, or few people have died, so many have been injured, admitted to the hospital, etc. I may not pay more attention to that news. I'll just, okay, there is an earthquake. But suppose there is one line in that news which catches our eye. That the epicenter of this earthquake was a place called so and so and so, where we know that some relative or a close acquaintance was living there. Our reaction to that news will be totally different. We will immediately call to find out what happened, whether they are safe. Isn't it? Because there's so many people would have been in a similar condition. When we first read the news, we never bothered for it. But the moment a place which we are familiar with because somebody known to us, somebody close to us is living there, immediately, catches our attention. Our reaction becomes totally different. So that is called the influencing universe. And there's a word Shastra uses for that, Vishaya hai. So Padartha hai, I don't care. Vishaya hai, I am very, very particular, concerned, involved. In fact, this Vishaya hai, they are inside my mind all the time. I carry them all the time with me. And Shankaracharya says, in Vedanta, when we introduce Viveka, Vairagyam, etc., first we take up the Anitya Prapancha. Even that, in that also, the focus is on Vishaya, the influencing universe. And the Vishaya, the influencing universe, is here called Bhoga Vastuni. Those things and beings which are capable of influencing our emotional personality. All of them are Anityam. Jagat is Anityam. Jagat Padartha Anityam. And Jagat Vishaya also Anityam. Therefore, whether it is Padartha hai or Vishaya hai, we must register this fact that all are Anityam only. Now, the next logical question somebody will ask is, how do you know that they are all Anityam, that they are all impermanent? Shankaracharya says, the impermanence of the world can be proved through several methods or pramanams. As we have already seen right from the inaugural class. In Sanskrit, a means of providing or knowing, that's a means of knowledge, is called a pramana. Through several pramanams, we can know that every blessed thing in this world is anityam, especially the things and beings in which we have emotional investment. And in this sloka, Shankaracharya refers to two such pramans. What does he say? Darshana Shravanadibihi. Darshana Shravana Adibihi Anitye. That the world is understood as Anityam through various pramanams. Darshanam is the first pramanam, which is called Pratyaksha Pramanam, direct sensory experience. Through our five sense organs, we are continuously experiencing many things which come and go. Isn't it? Plants come and go. Human beings come and go. We ourselves witness the death of several people. So, such direct experience is called Pratyaksha Pramanam, which proves the Anityatvam of the Jagat. And this experience is not restricted to only sensory perceptions. It also includes Shravana Adibihi. Shravanam here refers to the Shastra Pramana. Because there are so many things which are existing which are not subject to sensory perception. We know the existence of such things only through the scriptures. For example, the scriptures talk about other universes also which are not available for direct perception by our sense organs, or even for that matter, scientific instruments. They are not available. The scriptures talk about 14 lokas. 7 up, 7 down. Bhuloka, Bhuvarloka, Suvarloka, Maharloka, Janoloka, Tapoloka, Satyaloka. Along with that, there are 6 upper universes are there, where we can have a better body, longer life, better sense of pleasure. If we can earn sufficient punyam, we can even go to Brahmaloka and become Brahmaji himself. It's very interesting. The scriptures talk about the perks of Brahmaji, advantages of perks of Brahmaji. There's a mantra in Chandogya Upanishad which talks about Brahmaji and the people in the Brahmaloka. Sayadi Pitruloka Kamo Bhavati Sankalpa Devasya Pitara Samuttishtanti Tena Pitrulokena Sampanno Mahiyate. Long list is there. This mantra continues. It says that the main advantage is we get such a faculty that by mere wish and will, we can produce objects of our enjoyment. We can reconnect with our all past lives and all our past families. We may not want to do that, but still there is a potential for that in Brahmaloka. We can produce those family members also. Then it says, Atayadis Triloka Kamo Bhavati Sankalpa Devasya Striya Samuttishtanti Tena Strilokena Sampanno Mahiyate. Very deadly, huh? It says, if you want to bring all the wives that you had in all other janmas, you can bring them back alive. If you are in Brahmaloka. See the power that you enjoy. Now don't get ideas, huh? First of all, going to Brahmaloka itself is not very easy. Extremely difficult. So don't think that, oh, let us go to the Brahmaloka and get all our previous wives and then compare them with the wife that we have in this birth. Anyhow, so such lokas are described by scriptures which are not available to us through pratyaksha pramanam or experience through our sensory organs. And scriptures also say they prescribe certain sadhanas, and if you are able to do that, you can go to those lokas. Now the question is, are they permanent or impermanent? Because whatever I experience, I can come to a conclusion that they are impermanent. No problem with that. But what I have not experienced at all, how do I come to a conclusion that they are permanent or impermanent? Shankaracharya says, don't put pressure on your brain. Accept what the scriptures say. The scriptures themselves say that even they are impermanent. So Brahmaji may enjoy so much. People in Brahmaloka may enjoy so much. But Brahmaji and those people also will have a last day when Brahmaji will have to quit his body, lose all the faculties he had and all the sensory pleasures he had. Even a Brahmaji will have to lose all that. Therefore, through Shastra Pramanam, we come to know the impermanence of all other worlds, like, all these lokas. Similarly, the 7 lokas below the Bhuloka also. In fact, no world is permanent. What about the question? What about Vaikunta? What about Kailasha, etc.? And there is a misunderstanding which is for which our Puranas have also contributed a lot. Many people misunderstand, think that Vaikunta is eternal. Vedanta is very clear on that. Any loka, whatever you call it, Vishnu loka, Shiva loka, Brahma loka, a loka means what? It is a field falling within time and space. That is a loka. Whatever falls within time and space cannot be eternal, they cannot be permanent, they have to be impermanent only. Therefore, all lokas are impermanent. Thus, darshanam is pratyaksha pramana, shravanam is shastra pramana, adi means is a darshana shravanadibihi, right? Adi means etc. You can add anumana pramana by inference also. Therefore, we say the world is ephemeral. We cannot say that it is pratyaksha pramanam, because even the experienced world, we are not going to see the end of the universe, isn't it? We are not going to be there in pralayam, at least in this birth. Therefore, all these are anumana pramana. Since everything is ephemeral, since everything is impermanent, this world, when it comes to, it will also come to an end. That is the logic. So if we have to talk about the end of the cosmos, we have to use only logic. And what is the logic? Jagat anityam jatatvat ghatavat. The universe is temporary because it is born, it has originated, even if you take the scientific explanation, originated after the Big Bang. And Vedanta says whatever has got a beginning has to end. Yat yat kritam tat tat anityam. Whatever originates will have to end. This is the Anumana Pramana. And the Upanishad itself gives this Anumanam. Tadayata iha karma jito loka kshiyate evameva mutra punya jito loka kshiyate. Karma jito loka means the earth, the bhuloka. Just like the bhuloka is destroyed, it is kshiyate means what? It disintegrates, destroyed. Evameva amutra punya jito loka. Punya jito loka means the lokas which are won by lot of punyam, which is the 7 upper lokas. They also disintegrate, they also are destroyed. So just as you have attained this world through your karma and it ends, similarly, your life in the other world will also have to end logically. Thus, through pratyaksha, anumana, agama pramanehi, pariksha lokan, karmachitan, brahmano, nirvedamayat, nasti krita kritena, says Mundaka Upanishad. So it says a mature, intelligent person should know that all these bhoga vastuni, all those things with which we are emotionally connected, they are all temporary, they are all impermanent, they are all ephemeral. And having understood this fact, what type of attitude one should develop towards this bhoga vastuni? Shankaracharya says, Tad vairagyam jugupsa ya bhoga vastuni. We will have to develop vairagyam towards all such vishaya, things and beings with which we have got emotional binding. Padartha hai, we don't need to develop vairagya because automatically we have vairagyam towards padartha hai, towards the things and beings with which we are not emotionally connected, emotionally bonded. And in fact, when we say we have to develop vairagyam towards all things and beings with which we are emotionally attached, emotionally bound, many people will feel very disturbed to hear this. Swami Paramathananda says, when they hear this, they would rather develop vairagyam towards the class rather than their emotional bondage with all other things and beings. They will ask, how can I even imagine that? My parents, they're emotionally, I've got such a bonding with my parents. You want me to develop vairagya? My children, right? I can even now remember the time when they were born and they were given in my hands by the nurse. Right from that day, my emotional bonding is there with the children. And you say, you Vedantas, teachers say, develop vairagyam towards them. How can I even imagine that? I love them all. They are all so sweet. How can I develop detachment? They even may be thinking in their mind, Acharya, if you repeat that word again, I will get detached from Vedanta, but not from my emotional attachments. Recently, I saw one cartoon. One person is saying, I read an article about the dangers of drinking. Therefore, I quit. What did he quit? He quit reading the article. Similarly, here also, people may quit Vedanta class rather than hear all such disturbing things being told, right? So once we are very much attached to things and beings, we cannot even imagine about detachment. So Vedanta is prescribing a very, very tough sadhana. And in fact, this Vairagyam, the entire spiritual journey, will be a qualification which will take a very long time to attain. It will be the last value to develop because it's going to be extremely tough. Overcoming this emotional bondage is not that easy. Emotional detachment is very difficult. So Acharya here uses the word jihasa, which means first develop a desire to drop them, a willingness to drop them. Whether we actually drop them or not, we should first prepare ourselves emotionally, mentally, intellectually to drop them. Mind you, dropping does not mean getting rid of them. We should be prepared to drop them either by ourselves or we should be prepared to accept when they drop us. Either way, it is okay. I am prepared to drop them or I am mentally prepared to accept when they go away from me, they drop off. Being anityam, if I don't drop, some time or the other, they will in any case drop. They are going to become detached from me at some point in time. So better I foresee that possibility and develop that mental strength to drop them myself. Therefore, separation from the objects of attachment is an event with certainty. Again, as Swami Paramathananda says, and I quote him, one should be mentally prepared to lose the losable. Whatever is losable in the creation, one should be prepared to lose. When I am forced to lose, and certainly we will be forced to lose because everything is anityam, it will be very painful. But if I choose to lose, instead of being forced, then the pain will be lot less. Tad vairagyam jugupsa ya bhoga vastuni. And this mental preparedness to lose the losable is called mental sannyasa or vairagyam according to Veda. But if you don't develop this faculty, life is going to be emotionally vulnerable. Life is going to be an emotional roller coaster. Every emotional disturbance, every emotional turmoil, small or big, is caused only by anitya vastu. If you observe carefully, all anitya vastus are the ones which cause all our emotional disturbances. All these anitya vastus with which we have created an emotional bondage, they are only capable of creating the emotional disturbance. So jihasa, the preparedness to lose anything in life is called vairagyam. So we can translate jihasa as ragasya tyagaha, renunciation of attachment. So vairagyam is renunciation of all forms of attachment. So we have seen attachment towards what? Attachment towards anitya bhoga vastuni, all objects of experience in the world and all things and beings of the world which are all anityam. That is vairagyam. Now the question is, this word attachment we use. Some people say, no, Acharya ji, you are wrong. It's not attachment. Actually, we have a lot of love towards these people and these objects. So now we have to just examine what do we mean by attachment. Because, as I said, mostly there is a confusion between attachment and love. In Bhagavad Gita class, I discussed that in quite detail in the first chapter. And we have a misconceived notion that attachment is the manifestation of love. We need to dispel this wrong notion. Attachment means getting emotionally hooked to objects and beings, and once hooked, that object or person starts dictating our emotional conditions. They will control the switch to our happiness or unhappiness. Consequence is we lose our emotional freedom. Attachment means getting emotionally hooked, allowing external things and beings to dictate our emotional condition and the consequent loss of our emotional freedom. You can call it emotional slavery. Otherwise, it is called raga or attachment. And getting out of raga is viraga or vairagyam. Vigatah raga viraga. And it's a very important qualification because in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna emphasizes this throughout the Gita. In fact, when we use the word sannyasa, a renouncer, renunciate, generally we think it is the one who has left his home wearing saffron robes, etc. We think only of the external conditions. Really speaking, sannyasa is nothing but an internal condition called vairagyam only. Vairagyam is a sannyasi mind. And Krishna tells in the Gita, even a grihastha can be called a sannyasi if he has developed vairagyam or detachment towards things and beings around him. Nyeyah sanitya sannyasi yo na dveshti na kankshati. He says in the 5th chapter. Any person who has got vairagyam can be called a sannyasi. More than the external condition, more than the external appearance, this internal qualification, internal condition is very important. Further, he says, Krishna, in the Gita, Nirdvando hi mahabhaho sukham bandhat pramuchyate. And he says, such an internal sannyasi will effortlessly get both self-knowledge and also moksha. Therefore, vairagyam is a very, very important qualification. Getting out of raga and dvesha, transcending both raga and dvesha, likes and dislikes, and that is vairagyam. Very important qualification. Now we will enter the next verse. Verse number 12, verse number 22 of the original text. Virajya vishayat vrata Dosha drishtya muhurmuhu swalakshye niyatavastha manasashama uchyate. In this sloka, the Vairagyam topic is continued in the first line. Then in the second line, Acharya switches over to Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti qualification. Anvaya of this sloka is Dosha Drishtya Vishaya Prata Muhur Muhuhu Virajya Swalakshye Manasaha Niyatavastha Shamaha Uchyate. Dosha Drishtya, by seeing the limitations. Vishaya Bhratat, from a host of objects. Muhur Muhuhu, again and again. Virajya, withdrawing or showing dispassion. Swalakshye, in its goal. Manasaha, of the mind. Niyatavastha, abiding. Shamaha, resolution of the mind. Uchyate is said to be. So the mind's abiding in its own goal through dispassion toward the whole host of objects by seeing their limitations again and again is said to be Shama, resolution of the mind. Or you can call it management of the mind. So as I said in the first line in this verse, Acharya further highlights the importance of Vairagya. Because if you tell someone to develop detachment by giving up attachment, question would be, why should I give up attachment? What is wrong with that? And also, how should I give up attachment? It is not that I can remove something, like I remove a shirt or something. I can't do that. So why and how should I give up the attachment is the question. Of course, as I said, this topic of Vairagya is discussed in a detail by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Those who are Gita students will, as we go along, will know about, we'll discuss more and more there. Why attachment should be given up? Because it can create certain problems. The first and foremost problem is I lose my emotional freedom. External people, objects, and their conditions will decide or dictate my emotions. My happiness will be decided not by me, but every object, every person, and every situation. And this is the biggest misconception that we have. That it is the object, person, or situation which actually gives me happiness. So I become emotionally dependent on those situations and persons, and they start dictating whether I'm going to be happy or not. So this loss of emotional freedom is the first adverse consequence of attachment. And that means what? It will create emotional disturbances all the time. Whenever there is attachment or wherever there is attachment, there is constant worry about the object of attachment, isn't it? We all have got that problem of attachment. That is how we actually determine whether it is attachment or love. What is a typical householder's problem? Constant worry about family members, their condition, their future, etc. Isn't it? As even the family expands, the number of worries also expand. And worry leads to anxiety. Anxiety leads to fear and grief. All those consequences follow. Thus, there is a continuous emotional disturbance or loss of mental peace, and that is the first problem. And wherever there is attachment, there will be sorrow. Always attachment and sorrow are like two sides of the same coin. The intensity of the sorrow will be, excuse me, I am in the class, I'll call you later. The intensity of the sorrow will be directly proportional to the intensity of the attachment. What will happen? The mind will be constantly stressed, disturbed, and preoccupied also. Therefore, what will happen? I won't have quality time and a free mind for doing anything constructive. Pursuit of dharma, which is a constructive exercise. Pursuit of moksha, which is the most constructive exercise. All these superior pursuits of life will be seriously impeded. They will be seriously hampered because my mind is not available for anything valuable. Thus, raga or attachment leads to worry and grief. In the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna goes through raga and shoka, emotional pain arising out of attachment. When he sees he had come prepared to fight the battle, very well knowing who are going to be on the opposite camp, including Bhishmacharya, Dronacharya and all, in whose laps he has grown up. He knew all that. But when he comes to the battlefield, when he sees these people on the opposite camp, that raga or attachment surfaces. And he says, oh my God, am I supposed to kill these people? I have played in Bhishmacharya's laps. He's the one. Lullaby, when I used to sleep, he used to sing lullabies for me. Dronacharya, my most revered guru, who has taught me this archery and all the warfare. Am I supposed to kill them? When this attachment comes in Arjuna's mind, shoka follows, sorrow follows. He becomes totally incapable of doing anything. He throws his bows and arrows, sits down on the floor of the chariot, says, Krishna, I am not going to fight this war. That is the dramatized way attachment is presented right in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. And because of the emotional pain arising out of attachment, because of the raga followed by shoka, what follows is moha, delusion. Attachment and worry delude the intellect and our Viveka Shakti. Attachment leads to sorrow, which in turn leads to confused and deluded thinking. And because of that, precious human life itself gets wasted. And therefore, it is very important to give up attachment and develop detachment. But unfortunately, most of us don't understand this. We mistake our attachment as love. We are only promoting or rather strengthening the attachment in the name of love, which is very, very unfortunate. And Lord Krishna's message in the Gita is very clear. Attachment and love are totally two different things. Attachment and worry always go together. Love is never associated with worry. A loving mind helps other people, never worries about others, whereas an attached mind will worry about others more. Even if it wants to help others, it is not able to do so. Many times, this attachment, if it wants to offer help, in the name of help, it only messes up the situation more. And this contrast is clearly shown in the first and second chapter of the Gita. Arjuna has attachment and worry. Krishna has love and compassion. Therefore, he helps Arjuna without worrying. He helps Arjuna to come out of this attachment. Therefore, attachment should not be mistaken as love. To find out if I love my children, whether I love my grandchildren, whether I love my spouse, whether I love my parents, I should only ask, am I ready to help them without worrying about them? If I can do that, it is called love. Love will not rob our peace of mind. Love brings compassion for the other human beings, for not only human beings, for everything else in this universe. That is love. I am prepared to sacrifice my own comforts. I am prepared to lose all that I have to help somebody. That is love. So love will not rob the peace of our mind. And a loving mind is available for Vedantic study also. Therefore, the message is attachment should be given up because it is harmful. It should be replaced with love, which is very, very conducive for spiritual growth. Now, the next question is, how should one give up attachment? Shankaracharya makes it sound very simple. He says, remember the harmful consequences of attachment. The more you meditate on the disadvantages and negatives of attachment and realize how precious life is wasted, how the wonderful instrument, the mind, is not properly utilized, the more you think about all the damages it causes, then sooner you will try to get out of it. It is like eating junk food. When you start eating junk food, all these pizzas and burgers and whatnot, it's very tasty. Initially, you get attached to it and you enjoy it. Gives some sort of a happiness, all right. But then you are told that they are all very harmful for your body, for your health. Why? If you are an intelligent person, a wise person, you will heed the advice, or you will understand that even though they are tasty, even though they make me happy, they are very dangerous. Temporarily, they may make me happy, but in the long term, they are going to create havoc with my health. And the more I understand the harm, the easier it is to give up. This is Viveka. Otherwise, here it is called Dosha Darshanam. So Shankaracharya says, Dosha Drishtya Muhur Muhuhu. By constantly seeing the disadvantages or flaws of Ragaha attachment. Muhur Muhuhu. Again and again. Generally, we see this only when we listen to Vedanta class, isn't it? When you are in the class, you oh yes, correct. What the scripture says is right. Attachment is very harmful, etc. As Swamiji says, after the class, chappal on, Vedanta gone. back to square one. So therefore, Shankaracharya is saying, don't confine dosha darshanam to Vedanta classes alone. Even at other times, whenever the mind is worrying, convert that worrying into the time for meditation on the problems of raga. Whenever worry comes, let it trigger your meditation upon your attachment to children, spouse, and grandchildren. As often as the worry comes, so often the dosha darshanam should come. In fact, whenever worry surfaces, immediately it should be replaced by dosha darshanam. So dosha drishtya, he says. Drishti means darshanam. Muhur muhu, as I said, again and again, constantly seeing the problems of attachment as raga, shoka, and moha. He says, virajya vishaya pratad. Virajya. Virajya, we can take it as viraje. One should develop more and more detachment with regard to Vishaya Bratad. Bratad means a group, a samuha, a multitude. Vishaya means, we have already seen, all the sense objects of the world which are capable of emotionally disturbing us. And when I say sense object, it covers not only inanimate things and objects, but every human being with whom I have attachment. And that person is also called Vishaya. The word Vishaya in Sanskrit is derived as Visheshena Sinoti iti Vishaya. Sinoti means to bind, to attach. V is the prefix, which means strongly. Visheshena Sinoti means which strongly binds. Iti Vishaya. So Vishaya means that which strongly binds or enslaves. And what is the freedom or moksha we are talking about in Vedanta? It is liberation from this bondage. It is freedom from this bondage. Therefore, every Vishaya is an enslaver. Therefore, from all those enslaving people, things, Vratat, Samuhat, Ganatat, assemblage, Viraje, one should gradually develop detachment. It is not a one-day's job. It is going to take years of karma yoga. Therefore, one more discipline of karma yoga is highlighted in this sloka, dosha darshanam. And Adi Shankara, very focused on this. It is the only way out. How to develop vairagyam is through dosha darshanam only. He has written another beautiful treatise called Sadhana Panchakam, which emphasizes this sadhana of dosha darshanam in the very first verse. The verse reads, the sadhana panchakam, Adi Shankara gives 40 sadhanas to be followed in the spiritual pursuit. Very beautiful, very crisp text. If I get an opportunity after I finish Vivekachudamani, maybe I will teach you all sadhana panchakam, if you are interested. First verse says, Vedo nityam adhiyatam taduditam karmaswanushtiyatam teneshasya vidhiyatam apachitihi kamye matis sajyatam papaugham paridhuyatam bhavasuke doshonusandhiyatam atmecha vyavasiyatam nijagrihat Turnam vinirgamyatam. Beautiful 5 stanzas. Entire Vedanta sadhanas are condensed in these 5 stanzas. 40 sadhanas he talks about. So here he says, Doshonu Anusandhiyatam tells we should remember here this sadhana panchakam verse. So, dosha drishtiya muhurmuhu, seeing the impermanence of the world, seeing the problems and difficulties and what I can call negative effects of this attachment, raga, shoka, moha, we must develop vairagyam. That is the only way to do it. So with this, the second qualification of vairagyam is completed. And from the second line of verse 12, Shankaracharya enters into the third qualification, as I said, which is Shatka Sampattihi, the sixfold inner wealth. There are 6 different virtues or disciplines or faculties. It is called inner wealth because the word Sampatti means wealth. But here in the context of Vedanta, it is considered as inner wealth. Since 6 of them are there, Shankaracharya is going to define each one. The first one is called Shamaha. It means mastering the mind or managing the mind. That means directing the thoughts of the mind properly, regulating the thoughts. Because the mind's job is to continuously generate thoughts, right? There are 3 types of thoughts which are generated continuously. Jagat generated thoughts, thoughts which come in our mind as a consequence of our interaction with the world. They call Jagat generated thoughts. Vasana generated thoughts, thoughts which come in our mind because of our previous vasanas which we have been carrying from birth to birth. They are ingrained in us, they are in our subconscious. And they surface time and again and generate certain thoughts. They are not because of any experience that we have with the Jagat. And the third one is free will generated thoughts. When I experience the world through sense organs, the world generates thoughts in my mind. When I have closed my sense organs, the past experiences which are there in the form of memories or vasanas registered in our subconscious mind, these vasanas generate the thoughts. Most of these thoughts appear during dream stage rather. Even these thoughts could be of even younger days and all that, school days, college days. And when I decide not to be overpowered by either the world-generated thoughts or vasana-generated thoughts, and I decide to dwell on those thoughts that I want, they are called will-generated thoughts. Therefore, our mind should predominantly have deliberate thoughts, will-generated thoughts, and not be overpowered by the world-generated or vasana-generated thoughts. And once I have grasped the willpower and decide to direct my thoughts, I should ask, what should I do? Shankaracharya gives the advice, develop attachment. You say, what? Develop attachment? What are you saying? A minute ago, you said drop all attachments. Now you are saying develop attachment. That is true. We have to first drop all attachments towards anitya vastuni, all impermanent things. So anitya vishaya ragaha, you have to give up. attachment towards the ephemeral, but develop attachment towards what? Shankaracharya says, may you develop attachment towards the Nitya Vastu. Nitya Vishaya Ragaha, which he defines as Shamaha. There are lots of practical advantages in doing so, and moreover, it will ultimately liberate me. More we will see in the next class. Okay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Namaskaram,
Thank you all
Guruji.
very much. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Thank you.
Namaskaram, Guruji. Hari Om. Hari Om, Guruji.
Thank you, Guruji. Pranam. Thank you.
Pranam. Thank you.
Hari Om Guruji, thank you.
Hari Om.
धन्यवाद रघु जी.
Thank you, Guruji.
Namaskar.
Namaskaram. Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you.
Harihi Om.
Harihi Om. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any question? I don't see any hands going up. As we progress, many questions people have, they automatically get answered through Adi Shankara's words.
Hari Om
Very
Guruji.
informative and clear, Guruji.
Yeah, Hari Om Guruji. As you rightly said, actually I came with the intention of asking you one question. That is with regard to the vasanas or so-called karma and the free will. Actually, which is more powerful in our day-to-day life? But you have already touched at the last portion of your lecture today.
Yeah.
I think we will hear it more in the next class.
Yeah. And this not only next class, these themes will get repeated again in any Vedanta class rather. Ultimately, if you look at Vedanta, it's a very simple thing. Not at all complicated. It's only got a few standard things. If we follow all that, then the work is done. But the difficulty is that we need to understand what it is all about. As you rightly said, the free will, our karma, and also our vasana, they have got different roles to play in our life. So what is more important, very clearly he brings out, your vasanas and your karma driven world, they are all, understand first of all, everything is temporary.
Okay.
Once we understand everything is temporary, we will not have that kind of attachment. I mean, I will give you an example. There was a person who had a beautiful flower vase. And because of somebody, did something, was cleaning and all, the flower vase fell down and broke. It was made of some, this thing. Now, initial reaction was very sad. It was a beautiful flower vase. It has been there in our house for the last so many years and all that kind of a thing. This is the initial reaction. Then he himself thought, after all, this is made of mud. One day or the other, this is going to be destroyed. Either it gets destroyed before I get destroyed, or it will get destroyed after I get destroyed. Manishane, in Tamil we say, when we ourselves are not Shashwata, why, cry about things around us which get destroyed? So once that Viveka comes, then we will start, but that Viveka should be constantly there. So even the thickest of the relationships, thickest of the attachments, whenever that comes, we must be able to, we must be able to reconcile with that. And one of the most, worst problems we face is with our children. Even not so much as with our parents, but with our children. We start worrying about them, worrying so much about them. When they do something wrong, we blame ourselves. So we have not given them the right upbringing. Right? And that created, that's all attachment. And that's why, I tell people, whenever the question of upbringing of the child is concerned, we parents, if we realize one very, very important fact, that worry will come down a lot. And what is that? All the character of our children is made up of 4 components. The first component is their past karmas. They have taken birth in this life as your child to experience the result of their past karmas for which you were not responsible as a parent. It has come from their previous births. Number 1. Number 2, their character, their personality is designed by their vasanas, which again, vasanas, you are not responsible. They all again come from the previous births. Maybe some of the things that you have taught them in the childhood and all that vasanas may be there, but predominantly the vasanas are carried forward birth after birth. So 50% of the personality of your child is not under your control. Third component of the child's personality is what? The interaction with the world. When the child goes out into the society, into the college, into office and all, the experiences that the child or the son or the daughter gains in that makes the third component of the personality again not within your control. What is under your control is only 1/4 of the personality, which you have actually contributed during the growth of the child. You have taught them the right virtues, the right values and things like that and all, right? Once you understand this analysis, you will not feel responsible for any action of the child. Number 1. Number 2, consequently, it will help you, this kind of analysis will help you to develop a detachment. Mind you, I am not saying don't love your child. Love your child. Sacrifice everything you can possibly to make a good life for your children. That is love. But don't worry about them. They have come with their own roadmap into this life, and they will go through that roadmap. You cannot change any of that. You can give advice maximum. If they listen, well and good. If they don't listen, it is their karma. Leave it to them. With that, your mind becomes clear. Okay, I am not fully responsible what my children are doing. They are facing circumstances as a result of their own karma phala. If they are wonderful, I will thank God for having given me such wonderful kids. And if they are not wonderful, I will again thank God because it is my own karma phala which has resulted in these not wonderful children for me. So again, that is my responsibility if my children are not wonderful. So like that, this is all dosha darshanam. This is all aspects of dosha darshanam. Continuously, if you keep on seeing all these things, easier to develop detachment. That's how what Adi Shankaracharya and our Vedanta itself emphasizes again and again.
And also, I think even considering ourselves, I am not the body, I am not the mind, that negation also will ultimately take you to that self.
Absolutely. Getting up in early morning, when you're old, getting up, oh, there's a back pain, there's a neck pain. People immediately know, oh, it's a neck and back, it will pain only. The old age, they have all become worn out. I didn't have this pain 20 years ago. Now they have developed. It will be like that. I will do whatever is best possible for me to manage that pain. Maybe I cannot get rid of them. I will accept them. That's all. The moment that acceptance comes, your
Correct.
worries, vanish. So this is how, our thought process, and these are all what? Free will driven thoughts. We use our free will to think in this manner, which will relieve us from all these worries, the shoka, moha, etc. That's what we have to continuously practice rather every day, in every situation. Yeah.
Thank you. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you. Any other question?
Acharya ji, I've heard all your videos, so I wanted to complete that before attending it regularly. So your last video was really hard hitting, where you made sure that this has to be our top priority. Nothing else can come in the way, right? Attending this regularly, yeah. So
Once or
yeah,
twice you may miss because of some circumstances. But if you are going to not interested, oh, I will see the video later. So what happens is, whenever we postpone a thing, it will rarely get done.
yeah.
If
So
you are not able to attend a class, if you say, okay, I post the video at 9 o'clock, tomorrow morning, first thing I will watch the video. That becomes a priority for you. Then it will give effect.
true. Yeah, no, this is obviously for many of us, this is a priority. So,
Yeah.
Acharya ji, one thing I wanted to comment on this expectation. Like, I feel this attachment is because of some expectations. Sometimes it is unknowingly. Maybe we think we justify that there is no expectation, but deep-rooted expectation is there in some way or the other, and that's what is causing the attachment. So, one of
both ways, it feeds each other.
it's
Attachment causes expectations, expectations feed attachment. So they grow together.
yeah. And also, I think one of the ways for us to experience freedom is to set others free.
Yes.
Sometimes unknowingly we feel we are caring,
Yeah.
but deep inside maybe it's restricting their freedom, which is not letting us be free. For us to be free, we have to let others free. Right?
Let others free. Absolutely, absolutely right. We have to let others free. And that is what is happening, This attachment is a very deadly thing. We are binding ourselves to them and we are binding them to us. Their freedom is also restricted. Our freedom also get restricted. So if you remove the attachment, then what happens? They also become free. We also become free. You can have any amount of love. No problem at all. Love is actually a very good thing. Because again, love is our nature. As human beings, love, not only human being, every living being, love is a part of the nature of the being rather. Whether you take animals or anything,
And I think that love...
We know how even the animals, they protect their children, but they don't know about all this attachment, love and things like that and all. But what happens in animals, a very beautiful lesson that we can learn. They protect their children or their offsprings only to the extent that they are able to manage themselves. Like the cat, the kitten and things like that. Once they become grown up, then they don't even recognize them as their children. So that we have to learn. Human beings have to learn from them. Give them protection, give them the growth opportunity. Once they are grown a little, just let them go free. That's the secret.
And I think we can't say, meaning, correct me if I'm wrong. So love, when you say love, it has to be something, I think you mentioned about it, inanimate, animate, all things. You will have a samadarsanam, right? You will feel all are equally connected. That sensitivity will increase in you.
Correct. See, love is what, there is a difference between dependence and attachment. Everything, we cannot survive alone. No entity in this universe can survive on its own. There is an interdependence throughout, right?
Absolutely.
And that interdependence can be sustained through love. Love means what? Care. Care means what? I take care of you, you take care of me. It's not attachment. That's what, like in Bhagavad Gita, we are discussing the Gita classes. We are discussing about the cycle, cosmic cycles, how they are all interdependent, interlinked. So we have to make our contribution towards the sustenance of that cosmic cycle, the harmony of the cosmos. That's what the chapter we are discussing in Bhagavad Gita as a part of Karma Yoga. So all these things are there. Our problem is these nomenclatures are there, terminologies are there, but they are all mixed up in our mind in terms of understanding what each of them mean. And that is why we are in the situation where we are.
But very nice. Your sessions are really
Don't
thought-provoking and
Not-
worth contemplating continuously.
My sessions are purely what I have learned from my gurus, and I am able to just pass it on to you. That is the only. I will thank God and my gurus are for giving this opportunity to do that. In fact, I am equally benefiting from these sessions, because for me it is a repetition, revision, and nididhyasanam of what I have learned. Because when I learned, I might not have gone into so many details. But now when I'm teaching, it gives me an opportunity to go more into the details, because I have to explain to you, and not only explain, your questions also I must be able to answer, right? So that is actually a benefit that I am getting by conducting these classes.
Dhanyawad.
Dhanyawad. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you.
We will then meet in the next class. Okay.
Thank you, Guruji.
Namaskaraha.
Pranam.
Thank
Hari
you very
Om.
much.
Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you,
Thank
Guruji.
you. Good night.
Thank you. Hari Om.